everybody. How are you today? This is Ro again, and today I have a couple friends that will be joining me for another Never Have I Ever. Welcome back to the Tequila Princess channel. So today we're doing Never Have I Ever Paranormal Edition. And I have a couple friends with me. They used to work with me at the boutique of the Fancy Hotel where we used to have an aluche. I tell you the story about it. And they will be sharing some very fun and crazy anecdotes with us today. Girls, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hi everyone, my name is Nani and I'm from Mexico City, and today I'm drinking beer.
Hi friends, my name is Caro, I'm from Cancun, and today I'm drinking rose wine.
And I'm drinking Charro Negro. If you don't know what that is tequila with Coke and a little bit of lime. Let's get into the game. Are you girls ready?
Yes.
Bring it on.
When I was 13 years old, I got an elf from Pep Catala, a Spanish brand of toys. That one in particular was the elf of Una Noche de Verano from Shakespeare.
Yes.
And since the moment I saw it, I feel like I need to have it. So I begged my parents to give me as a present in Christmas. And it has little instructions that you have to take care, that you have to pour a little wine, give candy, a little coins or stones or whatever. And I was doing it because I was very excited about it. But then I kind of forgot it, and weird things start happening in my house. Like, not things that they're getting lost, but they start to fall really next to me. For example, I was walking and a book fell. And the most creepy thing that I experienced was we have a little Barbie house in the top of our bedroom. In the middle of the night, it fell right in our beds. Yes, and my sister and I, and we were like, what? And next to the Barbie house, there was my elf sitting like there. So my grandma panicked, and she took it one day, and I don't know what she did with him.
My only experience with aluches were exactly at the boutique, and this is something that really excited me because it was something so mysterious, and it was the first time happening to me. That the first time that this happened, I was with someone else at the boutique. I remember I heard something falling off. I was like, I thought we were alone, and she was like, yeah, we were. And I was like, what was that? And I went to take a look, and I remember it was like a floaty in the floor, and there was no one with us. So that was like the first night that actually happened to me. And then I just started to pay attention to every single detail or sound or whatever. And I remember there was a time that I was completely alone, and I started to hear like knocking.
The little knocks
behind. Yeah, like little knocks, like if someone was like, yeah, doing this exactly. And I started to follow the noise. I hear it like behind the wood walls, but it was weird because it has to be like something super small to fit in there. So I just started to follow the noise, and I remember I started to hear it at the top. Yeah, I remember
in the men's section.
Yeah, exactly in the men's section, right behind the counter. So I remember I ran to grab the stairs. I remember that in that exact moment, Caro arrived into the boutique, and she was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Following the noise." So many weird things happened there, like how the candies or the chocolates disappearing.
Oh.
I remember that every time that we ran out of the candies,
happen again. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you made me remember that I also had, it was not an elf, it was a troll when I was also like 13 or 14 years old. And I saw it in a marketplace. It was a tiny old woman with a broom or something like that. Broom, sorry, not groom, broom. And I thought it was super cute, so I bought it. And yes, you had to leave tequila and sunflower seeds and water and candy and whatever you could. And I had it there, but we used to think that we had a gnome at my place because very often things would just appear. So when I brought in the troll, weird shit started happening. Like bigger things,
Warzone.
yes, like bigger things getting disappearing, like 5,000 pesos. And it was like,
What?
and bigger things moved around that nobody moved and stuff like that. But the creepiest thing that happened to me was after school, I was very tired, so I decided to take a nap. And I was laying face down on my bed with, like your head on the side. And then I felt like someone coming close to my ear and doing this, like super, super hard. And I woke up, I was like, what just happened? The door was closed, the window was closed, my cat was sleeping in the other corner of the bed, and I used to have a closet that didn't have doors, it had curtains, and the curtains were moving. And I was like,
no.
holy. That day, I decided I needed to get rid of that thing. So we took it in the car. We saw a huge tree that looked like it had like a hole in the middle. So we stopped by there and I took the troll and I told the troll, I'm taking you out of my home because the gnome was first there. But I found you a very nice, natural home where you can live and nobody's gonna bother you. So I hope that you can live happy and you're not gonna hate me.
Oh,
for
that's
this,
okay.
Thank you so much for everything that you have done.
That was very
Put it in
necessary
there
to do.
and run.
Because if not,
Yeah, and I
you need
just
to
ran.
bury them. Say goodbye in a good way. Because if not,
Yes.
they tend to come back.
It was not a ghost, but it was like a shadow man. I don't know if that's like the same category or I remember
Wait, have you drink?
I remember it was the first night at this new place. I was kind of afraid because the people was telling me that, oh, you should be aware because this is a dangerous place. I mean, this is Mexico, so I remember that I was sleeping and my ex-boyfriend was sleeping face down. I just opened the eyes and I saw someone and it was standing right in front of me. And I couldn't see his face, but I knew that he was staring
I remember
at me.
that.
At that moment, honestly, I thought that someone,
Like human
in my
alive.
home or something, yeah, exactly, stealing or something. So I remember at that moment, I just saw this man because it was a man. I could see that he was wearing a hat and he was wearing a coat, but I couldn't see his face. Tried to knock my ex-boyfriend, like, wake up, someone is in our house. And he was again like face down and just like lift a bit and asked me like what's going on. And at that moment I saw that the man just turned around and like looking into the window, and at that moment I could see that he wasn't standing because he didn't have legs. He was like floating. At that moment I just got like rest. I was like, oh, what's
Nani,
going
that wasn't a shadow.
No, but you are
It was
sure what you
terrifying.
saw.
And I remember my ex-boyfriend was like, what is going on? Because I was like literally just freeze. And at that moment, I just saw this thing floating into the window until he disappeared. And am I dreaming? Is this real? It was super weird. I just tried to sleep again. The next day, I just talked about it with some. They actually told me this hat man.
It's
in
a thing.
Cancun. Yeah, and actually not just in Cancun. I mean like from all around the world.
Well, when my grandfather passed away, we went to the funeral. I was 13, I think. He used to live in a house where you arrive through the garage and then you climb the stairs to go to the living room and to the rest of the house. But there is another entrance instead of the stairs in the garage where you go directly to his office. We arrived, it was super early in the morning, probably 5 or 6, because it was still kind of dark outside, and because there was a lot of family coming for the funeral, so we were assigned to sleep on his office. So I remember that I went into the office, and when I was coming back to see if they were coming with more things, I was standing right in the door looking at the garage, and I saw the shadow of someone standing on the garage, and I thought it was someone from my family. And then my uncle entered the garage and turned on the light, and there was no one. I was like, okay, that was weird. Probably just imagining things because we're coming for a funeral, like you're suggested and whatever. 1 hour later, probably, I went upstairs to the living room waiting for everybody else to be ready so that we could go to the funeral house. And I was sitting on the living room looking straight ahead, and I saw my grandfather passing next to me. I saw him in the corner of my eye, but I saw him clearly. And I felt so overwhelmed that I didn't want to look. So I was both happy to see him, but at the same time terrified because I knew he was dead.
You shouldn't be here.
And I was like, I don't want to
Wow.
look because I feel like if I look, he's going to go and I won't be able to see him. And at the same time, I was like, seeing a ghost.
It was horrible.
I'm stronger.
I was 8 months pregnant.
No.
Barely can move.
Already.
God.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, exactly.
I have hallucinations of the voice of my mom calling me from the closet. I mean, I couldn't move. I felt something like in top of my chest. I couldn't open my eyes, but I remember I in a way can see my bedroom all dark, but my eyes were closed. I don't know what happened. And I hear my mom from my closet call me, Caro, Caro. But it was my mom. It was her voice. And it was like, what the fuck? I mean, maybe, I don't know, 2-3 minutes. I couldn't breathe very well, obviously, with the belly. But I was super scared because I was pregnant. It was not for me, but for the baby.
Yeah.
Everything was okay, but the minute he pops out, I was like, I need to go to the church or something. It was really, really, really weird. It was very scary.
Yeah, I bet.
No.
Why not? This is like a secret. I remember when I was like 16 years old, dreamed about a woman looking like my mom and my aunt at the same time. So sure about who she was. So in this dream, I remember we were kind of in a dark room where the light was kind of yellow. This woman was laying at a table in the center of this room, and she was pregnant. I remember that I could like see through her belly, and I could see the baby like suffering or something. And then everything in the dream actually turned like red, and I woke up. So at that moment, I knew that someone was pregnant, that she was losing the baby, and it happened to someone really close to me. So yeah, it was super sad because I mean, how are you going to tell this?
No.
Who are you
Yeah.
going to tell this? And yeah, it's like sad knowing that something is going to happen, but you can't do nothing about it or avoid it.
Wow.
Actually, well, mine was not as dark. I was in the last year of junior high, and in that time I was still super in love with a guy that I met a couple years before, and he left the school, but he was like the perfect gentleman, and he was like super nice to me. He left and I never saw him again. But I dreamed that I was not like in my present, but I dreamed that I was already in high school, and that I was in the yard of my school, and that a friend of mine that I didn't know at the time, I dreamed a girl that was my friend, and she was like, hey, look, Carlos is over there. And I was like, where? And he was there, and then I turned to look at my friend, and I remember her face very well because I actually met her a year later in my first year of high school, but I never saw the guy again. But yeah, it was super weird because when I saw her, I was like,
I knew you.
think about you. I know
Wow.
you. We're gonna be friends. And she was like, oh really? Okay, cool. Then we're friends. I was like, okay.
Wow. Wow, that's super
Weird,
cool.
but- Yay! Cheers.
I have a toy like it was like a Furby, but it wasn't a Furby. It was like I think the name was Big Mama. It's like
Oh, yeah.
with a little egg.
Oh, and it was like a newborn coming from
Well,
in there.
that thing doesn't have batteries, and at the middle of the night start like talking, and it was like
Yeah, because
"What?"
they used to sing together.
Yeah.
The baby and the
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I had
literally,
those things.
literally it didn't have batteries because I take the batteries to put it to another toy. And I remember I lost the little thing that you put to
Really?
secure the batteries, and it has no batteries and start singing at the middle of the night. Obviously I was tiny and I was like, okay, but my mom was like, what? I never saw that again.
When I think it was at high school, I was working on a project in the middle of the night, and I remember I was with music and some snacks. I remember I heard like a weird noise, so I stopped the music to hear it like better. I realized it was like the window, but it was the second floor, and I remember I heard the window kind of like opening. So again, I thought about someone else trying to break into my home. So I just like
Spider-Man.
tried to hear it. Yeah, I tried to hear it better to do something about it. And I remember there was like a mirror right next to the window because I put it there to took some photos. Then I saw this mirror like shaking because of the vibration of the window opening. So I was like, oh my gosh, someone is like opening. And I just, screamed like, hey, I know you are there. So I didn't see no one, but I definitely saw my mirror and like the window opening. So I don't know if I want to see a ghost or someone
Climbing at my window.
Yeah, exactly.
I was in Zacatecas when I was a flight attendant. I was in the layover at the hotel. But
Zacatecas is very
nobody-
haunted, right?
Yes.
It's supposed to be.
Nobody liked that hotel because there was the story that this hotel was vecindad before,
Mhm.
and that there was a witch living there that died in there. There were a lot of stories and a lot of colleagues that were traveling with me. The nights that we stayed there, they were like, oh, this and that happened to me. And I was like, nothing happened to me ever. And I was super tired because that day we started like at 1 p.m. and finished after midnight because we had a lot of delays on the flight. So I arrived to the room and I just quickly changed to my PJ and went to sleep. And I was just like trying to find my spot when the TV turned on. And I was like, I literally said, I'm not in the mood. I'm too tired. Leave me alone.
Not today.
And the TV turned off. If
Oh
it
no!
stayed on, yes. If it turned on, you could
Perdón,
set
Flor.
an alarm. It turned off after I was like, I'm not in the mood. Leave me alone. And it turned off, and I was like, okay, that was weird.
So nice.
I'm too
from
tired.
her.
But yeah, that was weird.
Wow.
Good, because I haven't. I want you to tell me something.
I remember when I think I was like 13 or 14 years old, I had this purple Motorola cell phone that was like super popular at that time. And that time we used to use the records or the message that was in the middle of the night, and this cell phone was making noise because of this notification about like the message. It won't stop until you hear it or click into something. So I just decided to hear it. And honestly, at that moment, I just heard a noise in the recording, and like the sound, I couldn't hear like a voice or a message or someone saying something. Actually, it was just weird noises, and I remember everything just started like to distortionate. I mean, the number wasn't available or nothing at all. So I was like, okay, I'm going back to sleep. Thank you. And bye.
And at the middle of the night? Wow.
Yeah.
No, in my case, it was a dream. Honestly, I believe that it was a message, like a very strong message. My kid's grandfather died around a year ago. I lived with my ex-husband and his parent, well, with his dad for about 12 years. So he was like a dad to me. We were very, very close. I came to Cancun as a couple. When we split out, I never saw him again. Never, ever. I never say goodbye. He never talked to me again when we got apart.
Closure.
Yeah, we never have a closure. And one day my mom called me and told me that he has died. And it was like, what? I felt something like, because he was very macho man. He thinks like woman needs to be
at the kitchen.
Exactly, at the kitchen and below her husbands. And the divorce, he was like, I can cheat on my wife as much as I want, but I will never get divorced. That mentality.
Okay.
And
yeah, better.
And then he died, and I didn't go to his funeral because I lost my flight. And I was like,
oh, no.
I cried about 2-3 days because I feel the need to say goodbye, but I couldn't. And I was so sad because I never ever text him, call him, nothing. I mean, I suppose he will be alive much more years. And that night I dreamed with him, young, with a very particular t-shirt and a very particular mustache that he liked to use when I start dating my ex-husband 13 years ago. He was like young and he was like in a quinceañera party, and I was there and I saw him. I knew he was dead, and it was like, what are you doing here? And he told me, I came to say goodbye. And I was like, why? I remember the words. You were a kid and we took you from your house. When I was pregnant, I was like 18 years old. So I was a kid and I started living with them. They took me from my house, basically. And I know you didn't understand a lot of things, but now you do. So it's okay. That was the words. And I was like,
oh, that's super cute.
And he hugged me and he started talking to me and he was like showing me things, tables, people that I didn't know, a party with people I haven't never seen in my life. There was no one that I knew, only him. So I'm assuming, I don't know, it was a heaven's party or something like that.
Yeah.
And he was like telling me things. I can't remember that, but I remember the message so clearly. Immediately the feeling that I was having, that the sadness and the regret and the guilt, everything disappeared. I even remember I texted my ex-husband and I told him, I dream about your dad and I dream about this. Please go to his grave and please make me the favor of giving him some flowers. It was like something special for us. I strongly believe that it was a message for me. I'm gone, you're here, you understand, we're good. I mean, I woke up in tears, like
yeah, I'm sure.
It was my closure because I never talked to him again.
Those were all the questions that I had, well, all the phrases that I had for you girls. I hope that you have had as much fun as I did. Well, and for you guys, my Tequilero friends, please, if you have any kind of paranormal, weird, unexplainable experience, let us know in the comments down below. And don't forget, obviously, to give a big thumbs up to this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Say goodbye to my beautiful friends over here and see you next week. Bye!
Bye!